Hello, and welcome back to the Regenerative Business Podcast with Sam Garcia. I am so happy you're here in 2026, celebrating this new year and all of the new energy that it brings. So, over Christmas, I don't come from a Christian household. My dad was atheist, but we did celebrate good old American holidays like Christmas. So, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I did travel to my aunt and uncle's house in the Bay Area, California for the week of Christmas. And I'm recording this episode the day after arriving back on Maui after that trip. So it's very fresh in my mind. I go there what used to be every year. Now it's become mainly every other year. They're my physically closest family and probably the most philosophically aligned family. But like many other families, gathering is so much devoted to food and cooking and baking and traditional foods from our culture and from our recent ancestry. And really just the central point of the holiday beyond spending time with family members is the food. And I'm not exactly sure what happened, but the night before I leave, so Sunday night, I wake up in the middle of the night with really strong, sharp stomach pain. And now I am not a stranger to gastrointestinal issues. Most Virgos I meet are not strangers to gastrointestinal issues. I grew up with an undiagnosed egg allergy, so I had the stomach flu probably twice a year, every year as a child. I actually remember going into 8th grade, so 13 years old, 12 years old. And I was probably 5'6" at that point. Not to my full 5'8" height yet, but I remember after a really crazy stomach flu bout being like 95 pounds because it was a full week of throwing up and having diarrhea and not being able to consume anything. So anyways, stomach issues, fairly common even to this day. So I was like, okay, it's Sunday night. I wake up in the middle of the night with really sharp pain. The sharp pain piece is not normal for me, but I was like, it'll probably pass. So I get up, I go on the plane. It's like 5 hours from Hawaii to San Jose airport. And by the way, this episode is going to be total TMI. So fair warning. And later on in the episode, we'll get into very specific business strategy. But here in this beginning part, there will be TMI. So on the plane, on the way to this week-long adventure at my aunt and uncle's house, I experienced the first of the diarrhea. I'm like, okay, it'll pass. If any stomach thing, I take my activated charcoal that I always travel with, and I'm sure it'll pass in definitely within 24 hours. It always passes within 24 hours, but then it doesn't. I keep having really sharp stomach pain or intestinal pain every time after I drink or eat, and lots of running to the bathroom for diarrhea. And other than that, there was no issue. I wasn't tired, I wasn't achy, no flu symptoms, no cold symptoms, no sick symptoms whatsoever, except for the stomach stuff. So I knew it wasn't the flu. It's definitely something I ate. And then I was like, oh, did our water filters at our house that filter stream water, or did those go bad? Do I have some giardia? What's happening? But I kind of keep going on throughout the week. I'm not adapting what I'm eating whatsoever. I'm eating less food because I'm just less hungry, and I'm now sensing that eating food equals pain. So I'm just eating less food. But I'm eating all the same food. So we have homemade Christmas cookies. We made this dark and stormy cookie from the New York Times cooking app. We made a special Christmas cocktail, a maple bourbon fizz, which was disgusting. I hated it, but it was a cute drink. Other people liked it. There was a neighborhood potluck with this enormous roast beef chunk that was all sliced, and a polenta dish, and we made a lemon cheesecake from this recipe my aunt has saved since 2003 from, I think it was Cooks Illustrated, where it's a magazine that they literally optimize every single recipe. So people were fawning over this cheesecake at the party. It was a very good lemon cheesecake. And there's wine, and there's our traditional Weisswurst for Christmas morning, coming from an old German family. And my aunt makes Stollen every year, which is a traditional German bread that takes days to make. And I'm eating all of it. I'm eating all of it, including coffee, which I haven't drank since March. I'm drinking there. And it's just consistently pain and diarrhea. By like actual Christmas, I'm to the point where I'm Googling, being like, is it okay? Is it okay? I'm like in my health insurance app, chatting with the people on the other side of the app, being like, is this okay? That like 6 days of diarrhea, is that okay? And the response was, go to urgent care. You need to fix this like ASAP, like 6 days, not okay. So I was like, oh shit, I gotta actually take this seriously. And so the day after Christmas, I go to the Bratz diet, which I know from all the childhood stomach flu, which is Bratz stands for banana, rice, applesauce, toast, saltine crackers. That's what I can eat on the stomach flu. And so day after Christmas, I have nothing but toast and tea and saltine crackers. Oh, and banana. The next day, the day of my flight. This is where like I was just like, oh my God, I really cannot handle being on a flight with diarrhea. Can you imagine? I was like getting Imodium prepared for that. But by the time the flight, even after that initial day of nothing but toast and saltines, it was like pretty much resolved. And then all the day of the flight and at home, I just had toast and saltines and bananas. And by 24 hours later, well, pretty much immediately after, I stopped having stomach pain. And by 24 hours later, it was like there was no issues whatsoever. And I was like, dude, what if I had just done this on day one? What if on day one of having diarrhea and stomach pain, I just had toast and saltines and it resolved itself? Like, what if I had done that? Instead of, I mean, I still had a totally lovely time. It hadn't affected my energy levels or anything. But like, there's this like edge of stress of like, do I really want to go on a walk? What if I have to run to the bathroom? Oh, do I really want to go out to a restaurant? What if I have to go to the bathroom? Like that sort of like low level stress. I could have avoided all of that. And I know that the main reason I hadn't, because I knew this, it wasn't like some like big revelation that if I had changed the way I'd eaten, then I would have felt better. But I was worried that it would have made it so I couldn't have eaten any of the good food the entire trip. It would have ruined Christmas or ruined my Christmas by not having that level of indulgence. And it felt like a bit of a slap in the face, being like, oh, it probably would have been resolved within 12 to 24 hours, that first 12 to 24 hours of the trip, if I had just made those adjustments. So now, here and now, I am gleaning lessons from it beyond the physical, because there are lessons to be had here, my friends. A big one is that the Bratz diet is not for every day, right? This is a medicinal situation where I need to eat in a way to support my health. There is a real health need here for this. And it kind of makes me think of the keto diet. My husband was in a major car accident in 2012 and has post-concussion syndrome and sometimes it's seizures and has a traumatic brain injury from it. So years ago, we started experimenting with keto for him because all of the science is like for epileptic children, but also with people with traumatic brain injury. The ketogenic diet is supportive of that. I think they've also done it for diabetes, but I know for TBI, it is scientifically supportive of keto and TBI work well together. And I did it with him at the time because it was also a part of the keto craze when everyone, or the corner of the internet I was in, was really getting big on it. And I knew that it would support him actually keeping in the habit of it. But I did not feel good on keto. Even after the quote unquote keto flu, even after all the things, my body just did not like it at all. And one reason this could be is because keto is for the metabolically damaged people. It's for people who have very specific needs for it. It's meant to be a medicine. It's not meant to be like a daily diet for people who are well. And apologies for people who are listening, who are like into keto and carnivore. I won't yuck your yum. But there are different ways of eating that are specifically good if you have a short-term or long-term health concern. But people who are well or outside of when you're not sick like that, you don't need to eat that way. Like once I'm well, I don't eat the Bratz diet all the time just because it healed me during that short period of time. And likewise, sometimes your business needs an intervention, whether you're seeing certain symptoms or you want to achieve certain results. Therefore, a nice little, I'm calling this a business detox, is needed. Or it can kind of be like how most cultures have parasite cleanses baked into the culture. So certain times of year or around certain collective events or life events, you'll do a parasite cleanse, whether they call it that or not. So sometimes you just need a little cleanse, a little detox. And that is perfect timing with the beginning of this year. So I have outlined 4 different diets, protocols that you can take on depending on what your diagnosis leads to. And I think this might become a podcast series, so I might do larger episodes on each of these 4 options, but we're going to start with this for now. So there's one protocol for cash in hand now. There is one protocol for I need more time. There is a Parasite Protocol where you are being asked to end a relationship or a program in your business. And then there is the Intimacy Protocol. Now, you might need all of these. There might be some overlap, and you're welcome to do all of these, one after the other. You've probably heard me mention the regenerative business ecosystem, but what actually is it? RBE is my all-access membership for online entrepreneurs who want to build thriving, ethical, nervous system safe businesses, ones that feel as good to run as they look on paper. Inside, you'll get every single course, workshop, and template I've ever created, from copywriting alchemy and drill-worthy offers to evergreen ecosystem and your root system. Everything's organized into clear learning pathways, so you'll always know exactly what to focus on next for your season of growth. And when you join, you'll get a personal onboarding audio from me, like a private welcome ritual where I help you identify your next right steps based on where you are in your business right now. But my absolute favorite part of RBE is the live calls. Every month we meet twice. One of those is always a Q&A call with me where I answer every question you asked. You'll get what you need every time. We also move through quarterly implementation cycles, themed seasons of focus, reflection, and growth, plus access to audio drops, a private podcast, and a vibrant community where collaborations, referrals, and real friendships happen. RBE isn't another hustle container. It is a living ecosystem built on rhythm, reciprocity, and regeneration. When you join, you get to grow your wealth and impact without losing your aliveness. Members have used these tools to double their income while working fewer hours, rebuild their creativity after burnout, and finally feel grounded in their leadership again. You can join us now at thedirtyalchemy.com/RBE, and podcast listeners get 20% off their first month with code PODCAST. Your next season of ease, expansion, and impact starts here inside the regenerative business ecosystem. Join now and have your best year yet. But first, let's have you diagnose what your business needs. If your biggest desire right now is more cash, then you'll go with the cash protocol. If you need more time, maybe because you're burnt out or you have a strong sense that you getting your time back would naturally lead to your business doing better, then you're going to do the time protocol. If you feel like you've tried all the things, but you're plateaued, it's a good sign you might need the Parasite Protocol. And if you feel like you're doing all the things and you're not actually gaining any traction, then it's probably the Intimacy Protocol. So let's go through these one by one. Now, remember, these are protocols not to be done all the time. I mean, you could do them all the time, but it's not necessary. It's meant to be an intervention in the health of your business. So for the cash protocol, there's going to be 2 things that you do each day. The first is to sell something once a day. Not that you have to make a sale, but you are actually actively sharing about something, an offer of yours, once a day. And it is uncanny how many online businesses that are in the 7 and 8 figure range will talk about one of their biggest turning points in making more money was taking on the challenge of selling once a day. And for some people, it sounds outrageous to do this. And the fears will come up that, oh my gosh, if I sell every single day, then my people will hate hearing from me. Then I will be turning people off. And it's honestly just not true. When I've gone through periods of actively selling once a day, whether through a launch or outside of a launch, and I think it is a super powerful thing to do outside of launches even, going through a time period where you're selling something, evergreen mini courses, your private coaching, whatever it is, once a day can really change everything because it forces you to keep showing up even when you're uncomfortable. It forces you to think of other ways to talk about something, to try out different messaging, to tell different stories. And I do have a freebie that supports with this. I have a guide that takes you through 30 different email and or social media prompts with mindset work that you can do before it to get you in the right mindset to write it and share it. So if you want 30 days of prompts, I'll link to it in the show notes. And with this, you choose where you sell. It could be in stories every single day. It could be in posts, in DMs. You can send out emails. You can mix and match. You can have in-person conversations. Probably the easiest place if you are on Instagram and Instagram is a main channel. Sharing something on stories is awesome and feels lower risk than other places. So that's one task as your daily task for the cash protocol. And the second one is to ask one client per day for a testimonial. That's right. One different client or student each day for a testimonial. This can be as casual and human as just DMing a client you've worked with in the past or that you're currently working with, asking if they could share some words about their work that you could share publicly, anonymously, or attached to their name, and how helpful it would be for you and your business and how grateful you would be. If you want my 9 different ways that I automate this in my business or systematize this in my business, check out my workshop, Effortless Testimonials. I'll also link that in the show notes. So that is it. Now, those are tasks that really can take less than 15 minutes a day. So it's not like this is your entire day, but for some people, you're going to have to work through some mindset stuff because it is putting you right on the edge of rejection. And that's why this is the cash protocol. No, this is not necessarily time-consuming work, but it is really big needle movers when it comes to actually generating cash coming into your business. Okay, so next up is we have the time protocol. You might be wanting to do this because you are burnt out and you need rest, or it could be because you are craving efficiency in your business. If you know this is you, definitely check out the episode from a couple weeks ago on how to make more money in less time every year. That wasn't the name. It was called something like how to make more money in your business every year while working less, because I go much deeper into this subject. But your 2 actions for the time protocol is to first discover your bare minimums for each of the regenerative business zones. And now I thought that I had created an episode on the regenerative business zones for the podcast. Apparently I haven't, so I'm going to have to do that in a coming episode. But as a quick overview, the regenerative business zones are the zones of your business that you can be tending to and designing for a regenerative business ecosystem. These are inspired by permaculture, a good old permaculture design certification back in 2012, where when you are designing a new regenerative landscape or property, the zones are centered around, you can kind of think of concentric circles or circles within circles that are radiating out from your home, your house. So your house is zone 0. You might have like a little herb garden on your windowsill. And then moving out from there, so the closest distance from your house, you might have like the vegetable garden that you use every single day for cooking. And then zone 2 out from there would be like you have to walk a further distance. So there are things that need less care from you and that you use less often. So maybe it is fruit trees or sheep. And then out from there, again, stuff that takes less of your effort and you use less. And then out from there, eventually you get out to the wilderness or native landscape. So with the regenerative business zones, your center point is you. Zone 0 is you. So what are the daily mind, body, and spirit practices, or mind, body, and magical practices that you're doing for yourself as the founder and also to tend to your business? Zone 1, moving one zone out from there. These are the people in your business. You're paying clients. How are you serving them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? Then a step up from there is your actual business systems. So this would be your team. It would be your funnels. This could be the larger projects that you have doing that are keeping your business running and helping your business to grow. One zone out from there, we have potential clients. So people who are interested in your work, but they aren't paying you yet. So this could be people on your email list or who follow you on Instagram or have asked you for a proposal. Then our final zone, one zone out from there, this would be like the wilderness. And these are strangers to your work. They haven't even found you yet. So this could be posting on Instagram or going to networking events, those visibility tasks that you do in order to meet new strangers. And man, I really thought I had done an episode on this, but because we talk about it so much in the regenerative business ecosystem inside of my membership. But for the time protocol, I want you to discover the bare minimums needed for each of the regenerative business zones. You can think of it like, okay, if I could only work 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day, or if something crazy happened and someone got sick, or you were offered a life-changing opportunity that took 40 plus hours a week of your time, but you still wanted to maintain your business, what are the bare minimum things you need to do on a daily, weekly, and or monthly basis to maintain the business? Because most of us just fill 40 plus hours a week of our time with bullshit or scrolling, when really our business could do extremely well with only 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours of our time every day. So I want you identifying what that is. So the personal practices is you as the founder, delivering for clients, whether you're a done-for-you service provider or you are doing live calls or private calls or teaching, or maybe you have a low-ticket business and you're just like selling ebooks, then that would be customer service stuff, but you'd probably delegate that out anyways. Then what projects does your business need you doing? Or like content batching you would need to do? What team communication do you need? What is this bare minimum? Again, we're coming back to this bare minimum. Now, I'm not asking you to drop the ball in any way or under-deliver for clients. But again, we're often just filling in our time with a bunch of bullshit. Then again, for zone 3, for zone 4, what is these bare minimum things to keep your business going? And now, the second part of this for the time protocol is spend a minimum of 1 week doing the bare minimum, okay? After identifying what the bare minimum is, spend at least 1 week doing the bare minimum. And if you want some extra credit here, I dare you to track your time during this. That could be just like writing it down on a sheet of paper. I personally love the free desktop app called Toggl, Toggl, for time tracking, but that is your time protocol. Now, for the Parasite Protocol, this one is very case-by-case basis. You need to figure out if you have a parasite, but you need to end the relationship or end the program or offering that you identify as the parasite. So my story around this is, and I told this in my workshop, Deconstructing my first $94,000 month, but I had my first ever full-time employee, or I mean, she was a contractor, but I was her only client and she worked 40 hours a week for me-ish. But I hired her in 2019 and my business grew and my business kept growing and I was changing my business model. And for 2 years, from 2022 to mid-year 2024, I was seriously considering letting her go. But because of my loyalty, because I cared about her, I just kept pushing out the decision. And I am absolutely a conflict avoidant person. But I kept her in my business at least 1 year longer than I should have. But when I finally ended the relationship and let her go, that same month was my first $94,000 cash month. And then I went on directly after that to make $500,000 cash in 5 months. And I 1000% believe that one of the main reasons why that happened was because, and this is not to say that this person was a parasite. That was like just the cheeky name of this protocol, but ending the relationship that needed to end, letting go of the person that needed to be let go of, was supported 10 times over by the universe. It opened up, it felt like this immediate flood of energy into my system. And you hear this all the time of the person who quits the job or the person who gets the divorce or the person who moves state, makes that big scary leap, ends that big scary thing that in their heart of hearts knows is wrong or knows isn't right for them anymore. They're immediately rewarded by a raise, by a new opportunity, by their soulmate. I don't know. But there's so many crazy stories like this. And I know that my story, like I've had just such a visceral, big example of this happen that I had to include that Parasite Protocol. And again, it's not to say that that person is bad or that person is a terrible person or even bad at what they do, but you know that the relationship needs to end, or maybe a program in your business needs to die. So your only task here is to end the relationship or the program. and allow the void. Maybe something divine will immediately come in, but don't just try and fill the space to fill the space. Remember, nature abhors a vacuum. You creating that space will allow and naturally magnetize something better to come in, but you don't want to force it just because you're uncomfortable with the void. Okay, and our final protocol is the intimacy protocol. And this is to share one vulnerable story daily for 1 month, or for as long as you choose to do the protocol. Now, in these crazy times of AI, this protocol is even more potent than it was before. And well before AI became a known thing or a used thing, this protocol is fucking potent. Now, the first time I did this one was back in 2022. And this was in the transition from doing mainly done-for-you marketing services through our marketing agency into my primary thing being coaching, consulting, mastermind programs, that sort of thing. And there is nothing more memorable and engaging and magnetic than you sharing your story. And now even more so. Again, this was back in 2021, 2022, before anyone was using AI on the internet, or like they might have been using it, but it was like more like Google was using it, not like everyone under the sun, and ChatGPT wasn't a thing yet. But now it's even more potent because everyone's just using ChatGPT for everything. Unfortunately, like it's such an environmental devastation. But again, with just traveling to my aunt and uncle's, just seeing how everyone in the room was like, oh yeah, I use ChatGPT for blah, blah, blah. Or they're using ChatGPT as Google, not realizing, again, the environmental devastation that comes with that. But information is so friggin' cheap. So if you are only sharing information publicly on the internet, you're going to have a harder time than you need to. Because you're competing with AI and ChatGPT and people just being like, well, I could just get this for free by ChatGPTing it. But your story isn't replicable by AI or anyone else. And if you had experience of copycats, even people trying to copy your story, they can't copy it for long because you as a brilliant thought leader are constantly coming up with new ideas and new experiences and new stories because you're living your life. So sharing one vulnerable story a day, not to say that you're sharing like about your biggest traumas in your life. I mean, some people choose to do so, but not required. They can be tiny stories. They can be little things that are happening. They can be a sweet memory from childhood. You sharing your story, and I mean, bonus points if you can wrap it in and weave it into your ethos or why you do what you do today or little lessons that relate to your craft. But you're going to find more people reaching out to you, more people wanting to get close to you, more people offering you opportunities, more people asking you how they can learn more about your work. Now, important piece for this isn't a time to share open wounds. Not that you have to hide your open wounds or things that you're still working through, but they're absolutely, in my opinion, if you're wanting to be a thought leader and an expert on the internet, sharing big traumas that you're currently going through, like the internet isn't the place to process that. Like that's a great place for a coach or a therapist or your family members or loved ones to talk through with. Instead, these are things that you have already worked through and instead that have shaped who you are today and has shaped why you decided to get into this work, right? So maybe it's a story from 10 years ago, 6 months ago. And I know it can sound really intimidating to come up with one story a day, but really if you just set a 5-minute timer, and you can do so right now, set a 5-minute timer and write out as many little stories as you can relating to why you believe the certain things you do today, or what you thought about where you're going to be when you grew up, or if you do a certain craft, how you got into the craft that you're in, what sort of aha moments brought you to where you are today. It's amazing how many different stories you can come up with in just 5 minutes. And again, these are just ideas for stories, and then you can write them later. So those are the 4 protocols if you choose to accept the cash protocol, the time protocol, the parasite protocol, and the intimacy protocol. In terms of length of time, you can make this as long or as short as you need to get the virus out. Like I only need to do the Bratz diet for as long as my stomach needs it. And then I can start playing around with other things and introducing other foods. But I do recommend starting with, can you do like a little 5-day sitch as the shortest bit, or you can go up to a month. But I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know. Please DM me on Instagram at The Dirty Alchemy if one of these are the ones that you're choosing. I'd love to follow along on your journey with that. And let me know if you want me to make a series out of this to go through deeply each of these different protocols. Of course, if you're in the regenerative business ecosystem, let me know on our next live call which one you're playing with. And so happy to be with you here in 2026. And I'll talk to you soon.